Hello guys, welcome back. In the last episode, we have been seeing how to get content of a post based on the post ID and the revision ID. So in this episode, we're going to see how you could create an API that could create the post actually. Okay, so let me get to the database. Okay, so before we create the post, while creating a post, the basic attributes we need here is post ID. Okay, so we need a post title. Okay, so the post ID is the one which has been automatically assigned by the database, so we did not mess it with. And the author ID is been just the person who's been creating it. So author ID may change or may not change, but by default we'll assign this with the person who has been logged in. Okay, it's an optional one, so the user might send or might not send, it doesn't matter. So next we need the content. So user need not to split the content by in the client side itself, so we'll split that in the server. So we need a entire string of text, so where we'll be splitting that. And then next we need a category of that post, and yeah, that's it. So the publish and latest updated will always come under the next ones, like the publish post. Okay, so for now we'll just only create a post, so which will stay as a draft. Okay, so in the last episode I just forgot to mention, so the revision ID here indicates the published one. Okay, so if we are putting a post which will not be published yet, we'll put a negative number here. Okay, so I'll use a negative number here indicating the version or the post hasn't been published yet. Okay, yep, I already started. So as I said, we need the title. Okay, so I just created a postman draft here. Okay, so we need title, category, and content. Okay, yep, so that always a messes with these spelling mistakes. That's okay, fine. So in title, category, and content, so I'm just concentrating on few important things. So if is set of title. Okay, so we need the title, dollar request of title, or so like we need the title, category, and content. Yep. So now in case if I don't get this stuff from the user, I could simply send him the bad response, like saying that it is not a good details I need. Yep, so I'll just copy this from here, I'll put it here. Yep, so now we're gonna indicate that I need the post title, the category, and then the content. So if any of them are missing, I'll send the user a response. Okay, if everything is okay, so now we need to split the content according to our database size. Okay, so the problem here it is, the HTML looks like this. Okay, so the HTML content, the blog will be written, so will be a huge one. So we need to make sure that we are going to split the content, so we could put that in our database. It doesn't exceed the size, so the max size I have allocated for the content here. Okay, so in a record, in a part I could store almost 10,000 characters. Okay, so I need to split the the content based on number of characters. Okay, so to do that I need to use the str underscore split method in PHP. So I'll say dollar content equal to dollar split. Yeah, it's actually str underscore split, yeah, of dollar request of this content. Now instead of using the entire size I have available, I'll split around 5,000 characters. Okay, so I'll make sure my HTML content will be splitted into 5,000 characters each one of them. So now, so we got all the stuff we need. So the optional stuff we are here we need here, it is uh, hold on, yeah, the post author ID. So by default I'm thinking, so in case if the user haven't given me the author. Okay, by default I'll use the author as the person who has logged in. Okay, so I'll use $_session of UID. So now since we are using the session, okay, since we are about to use the session, we need to make sure the user has logged in. Okay, everyone cannot use this create until someone has logged in. Okay, so we need to make sure a person has logged in to create this. So we have already done that, so let me get the code of that. It's a small code. Okay, here, see, we are checking if there is a session of UID. In case if there is no session, I'll just send an incorrect response to the client saying that no one has logged in. So that's what we're gonna do. So first initially I'll check if there is a session before the API has been invoked. So if there is a session, we'll continue the process, or else we'll throw an error, just stop the process. Okay, initially I'll take the author as the author ID. So now I'll use the if condition to check if he has sent me an author. Okay, I'll just use this one. Yep, so here I'll say it is author. Okay, in case I got the author ID, I'll set that to the author here. Yeah, so now this is an optional one, so I'll just put that. So by default the author is the person who has logged in, or else it can be an optional, the person can also send who would be that author. So now we got the content. Yep, so we got the content, we got the author, we got every pretty thing we need. So now we could create these SQL in sessions. Okay, so we cannot insert a single time because the content is an it's an array, so we need to run a loop on that. So I could do that, so I'll just say for $I equal to 0 semicolon I is less than count of $content, not, yep, $content, and just increment the I. Yep, so inside the loop I'll just write my simple query here. So the query should be hitting three different uh, you know the query need not hit the three. So one query is going to hit this one, and the one query is going to hit the metadata, and one query, it's not query, it's like positions of query, going to hit this one. Okay, so we need to get the post ID from this one always. Okay, when we are creating the post, we need the post ID from the database to be retrieved. So first let's write, so before we get into the method like the loop, so we'll write that query. Okay, $result equal to $this db of insert simple of the table we are going to hit. First one here, it is the blog underscore post. Okay, so we're going to hit this table. Okay, and we are going to send the attributes of post underscore title, and the other one is post author ID. Okay, yep, and we need to pass those values, right? So we'll use that, and I'll close this again, use this one, and we passing the title out there. And next we need to pass the post ID, the post author's ID. So for that I'll just use a comma, single quotes, and open the double quotes again, dot, actually not required, all this stuff you could use, type the author. Yeah, now the next thing. Okay, so since this is an insertion operation, we doesn't need any more of this stuff, just give a semicolon, boom, that's it. So now we need to make sure that this is a success. If this is a success, we'll continue the process, otherwise we'll break it here. So we already had that error correcting thing here. Yep, the query error, right? Just get that, put it here. Yep. So now we'll check the result if there is a query error. If there is a query error, we'll just return the query error from here, or else we'll say still just continue from here. Yep. So now if we could get the post ID. Okay, that's one of the toughest part here, because the post title isn't been unique, if I'm sure. Yep, so the post title along with author ID is unique. Okay, that's fine. So one author can create that particular title at a time. Okay, only once. So you cannot use the same title again and again. So different user can create it. So we have to use this same concept here. So we need to use the read simple. Okay, I'll just get it from here. Okay, simple city. I'll write the query myself. Okay, I doesn't want to mess this with around. So I'll say query of. Okay, select post underscore id from blog underscore post. Okay, where post underscore title is equal to, so I'll just use a variable here instead of that. Yep, so we'll use the title and the post underscore author underscore id is dollar author semicolon. Yep, so this is my query, guys. Select a post id from blog underscore post where title is this one and author id is this one. So if everything is fine, we'll get the result back. So it will just push the result. So since it is unique, so as we know from the result of 0th one, if we can fetch that, we'll get the post id. So I'll just store it in a variable called id now, since it is just required for the time being. Okay, yeah, there we go. So now we had inserted a row, main a record. We created a record of the post and we got successfully the post id. Now we could use that to create the metadata. So in the metadata we just need to insert the post id along with the category, and the revision it's negative, so we did not touch these published and last updated and timestamp stuff for now. So yep, so I'll just use the same thing from here, and instead of blog underscore post we'll just concentrate on metadata. Yep, so we need to send the category, revision id and post id. Post underscore id and category. Okay, so in the category, and finally we need to send the revision id. Since the user has only created the post and he hasn't been involved in any of this creation stuff, I mean the publishing stuff yet, so we'll just only create it and keep it in our database. Okay, it's $id, and the next one we need to send is the category, so which is which we haven't stored, so I'll just store it here. Category equal to, so I'll just prefer copying it because it takes a little bit of time. Yep, so category, so I'll just use that category here. And finally we need to send the revision id, which is by default the -1. Since it is a number, it need not be in double single quotes or whatever. So if this insertion is also successful, we'll just be fine here. So now it's time to run a loop over our post. Okay, over our post we need to run a loop. I mean not our post, actually the content I meant. So and insert these records into the post. Yep, so here we need to send the post id, the post part and the post content. So the post revision by default it stays as 0. Okay, so that's not a problem. So I'll just get this stuff again from here, and yeah, so here we'll say it's content. So yeah, we need the post id and then the post part, and then post underscore content. We also need the post underscore revision. Okay, so post underscore content and post underscore revision. Okay, so first post id we send it, and then we need the post part which is under $i. Okay, at last we need to send the revision, so which is by default 0. So in between the post part and post revision, we need the post content. Okay, so we had that inside the contents array. Okay, so we need to get that, so I'll use dollar content of $I. Okay, yep. So now this is the insert code for insertion. Oops, my headphone is pressing that button. Yep, so that's fine. So if you are done with that, so here, so we did not stop actually this thing here, so we'll just put the status as some kind of problem here. So I'll just say status equal to array of. Okay, so here instead of putting this into this, I'll say dollar, not dollars, it's array underscore push of dollar status from this query error. Okay, so results query error will be pushed into that one. Okay, so after coming out of that, so I'll just push whatever it is, and here I'll check if count of dollar status is greater than 1. Okay, so if it is greater than 0 actually, so then we'll just use this code. So but this time instead of status, I'll just send all the statuses. Okay, see if everything goes fine, we'll just use our actual 200 response. Okay, so I'll say take this, put it here, and in this status I'll say it's true. Status is just true, so it's a flag which tells this front-end user everything is fine. Yeah, so let's go try. So I don't think we'll succeed at the first place, but let's give it a try. So we got a terrible problem here. So one thing, we haven't logged in, so it's throwing that error. We haven't logged in, so we have our login API here. Okay, yep, send. Yeah, so we are logged in with the UID 1. So now let's create the post. So yeah, we got an error here. So it says in undefined index author in line 34. Line 34, we have an error. It says author. Yes, it's not is set. If it is set, okay, that's fine. Now we're just gonna continue to postman send. Yeah, we got status true, which means everything is fine. Okay, let's go to the posts. Yeah, we could see the new post has been inserted, which is 7 test post 1, and it's been made by post starter 1. And if you go to post here, so you could see a new thing has been inserted. So this is my actual HTML. Okay, that's good. So now we just let me go to meta, and yeah, you could see the category is unknown. I just inserted. Okay, so the problem here is the single quotes. Okay, so the SQL queries are just trying to check for the single quotes here. So in the HTML content, there are some tags which are encoded with this single quote, so that's causing problems. So I just wrote this simple replacement stuff, so it's gonna replace all single quotes with this double quotes here. Okay, this is not just test port, the final one. Let's say it's a final one, and click hit send. Yep, so now the JSON is perfect, so you could see the status is true, so everything has been fine. And if I go there and go to the last page, it's 14. Yep, so you could see the new 14. Since we have limited that to 9,000 characters, so we got only few splits here. So this is good when you're creating the huge blog post. It's really good for holding this HTML content. Okay, so that's it for this episode, guys. So that's how you could create a post. So that's simple API. So this is a few parameters that you could create post. Okay, so actually I'm not going through a complex one, so there are different parameters you could concentrate on, so it depends on how complex your blog should be. So right now I'm just going through the simple concepts and how you could do that. So yeah, so that's it, and I'm leaving you to the playground so you could use that. So I'll leave the backup in the database template so you could import it and start working on that. Okay, thank you, hope you guys enjoyed. Bye bye, peace out.